Today we're talking with Brennan. Brennan is a business professional and longtime mountain biker who began experiencing troubles with his sleep, with falling asleep and staying asleep through the night. He tried a variety of sleep aids, but never found the relief that he was looking for. And he eventually developed a sort of fear of sleeping in his bed. So let's talk with Brennan and learn more about what he experienced and how he found help with sleep coaching. So Brennan, will you tell me about the sleep issues that you were dealing with prior to working with me?
Sleep issues I were dealing with were probably pretty similar to a lot of others. I found ways to manage my issues with, natural sleep aids the best I could. But as time went on, I just felt like I entered more and more of a sleep deficit that I couldn't fix, through natural means. And, I was going, every time I had something important at work the next day, it was almost guaranteed that I probably wouldn't sleep. And even outside of important work events, I was just finding myself struggling pretty much every single night to some extent. I was getting by, I was managing it as intelligently as possible, but I was still fighting against nature, it felt like, and averaging way less than I should have almost every single night when it came to how much sleep I was getting. And I could just tell over the years that it was starting to wear more and more and more on me. And I consider myself a pretty mentally strong person, but, after the years went on, I could just tell that it wasn't sustainable.
Can you describe your average night and what specific challenges were you dealing with?
Average night, it's, after dealing with something like this for years, it became pretty common that as the night came, the anxiety levels ramped up. Most people at night probably tend to get tired and start to wind down. And typically for me, the opposite would happen. Anxiety would shoot up, the worries would increase. And it wasn't like I was thinking about work or anything else. I was simply thinking and focusing my sleep battle ahead. And sometimes I would sleep okay, usually when I was exhausted, but average, probably 5 to 6 hours a night on a good night, 3 to 4 hours on a bad night. And those bad nights happened pretty frequently.
Okay. And can you kind of describe your relationship with your bed during that time?
Yeah. I actually developed a loving relationship with my couch and couldn't even walk by my bed without feeling bad energy. It's almost as if there was like a demon essence surrounding my bed. Didn't even want to look at it. I always made it. I had always had a nice mattress, but it wasn't until I met with you that I realized that I had that issue. I always knew that I looked at my bed that way, but it was interesting once that relationship developed, because I found myself falling asleep more easily on my couch because I didn't associate my couch with all of my negative experiences with sleep. It's funny how it worked. But
Can you describe some of the specific worries or negative thoughts that you had developed about sleep during that time?
yeah, I've always been very career oriented, but I've raced mountain bikes most of my life, and I've had some bad crashes. And I think after dealing with sleep problems for a while, one of my biggest thoughts that I had was that, maybe one of my bad mountain bike crashes is what led to my inability to sleep, which then led me to believe that this was a permanent issue that I could never fix. And once I convinced myself that that is what happened, that's when I started to fully rely on natural sleep aids. I started to, my negative thoughts cascaded from there, like, well, if this is a permanent thing, how hard is it going to be for me to grow in my career? Is this going to limit the kind of careers and promotions I can take? But it all came back to that one thought. I really did think that one of my bad mountain bike crashes maybe altered my brain chemistry, and that was not the case. And I'm really happy that I found out that that wasn't the case.
And can you just tell me, how was the insomnia affecting your life during your day? Your job and cycling and everything else?
I must say I'm pretty proud of myself for pushing through like I did when it came to cycling and work. I was able to have a fulfilling career and still grow and still be a cyclist to a great extent, but it was through an amount of suffering that most people probably don't understand if they don't have these issues. I had to push through a lot of really bad days, a lot of really tired days, managing multi-million-dollar projects when you're really zonked out on having no sleep it's incredibly hard to push through that. And again, I am proud of how hard I pushed and through how much and how long I did it, but it's definitely not sustainable. And if you've played video games for short stints or long stints, I don't play video games anymore. That's a thing of the past. But if you know how to adjust the level of difficulty in a game, easy mode, medium, hard, I'd say going through life with this lack of sleep is like playing through life on hard mode.
Can you just talk about, we talked about the natural sleep aids and things, but can you just talk about a lot of the different things that you tried over the years in terms of, researching and studying and just everything you tried to try to get yourself better sleep that wasn't working for you?
I stayed in the natural realm, and the hours of research that I conducted probably could have had a PhD in natural herb science at this point. But, I've tried everything from amino acids to herbs to teas to just everything under the sun. It blows my mind that, how much time that actually took from me. And, it wasn't until I met you that I realized that a lot of that fretting and research and trying this and trying that was actually just contributing to the problem itself. It wasn't putting me in the right mind state all along.
Once we started working together, how long did it take for you to start noticing some positive changes in your sleep or your mindset or anything else?
To be honest, and I'm not saying this, in a biased way at all, but it was almost immediate. And I think it's because deep down inside, I felt like I finally did the right thing to seek help, to reach out. And it was almost as if my soul, my subconscious was immediately relieved that I was working with someone who was going to get me through this. So I started to feel more relaxed almost immediately at night. And again, I think it was because deep down inside, I knew that I was finally doing the right thing to figure this out. Outside of that, I'd say within a week or 2 weeks, maybe, I was starting to finally sleep like a normal person.
Awesome.
Which is not what I expected.
Okay. What did you find beneficial about sleep coaching as you were going through it?
It really helped to have someone who's been there through it themselves getting me through. I know you shared what you've been through, and it almost sounded worse or even like you dealt with it longer than I did. So I was like, well, having someone who with that experience is definitely helpful. Also, having someone hold me accountable, not only as a person, but financially as well. I did invest in this help, and I didn't want that to go to waste. So that really shaped me up in terms of focusing and doing the changes that I needed to do. Because prior to this, I did try doing, some like self-administered CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy with a phone app. They have those available. And while I did see small incremental changes, I found that without having someone to hold me accountable and not pouring money into something, I was veering off the path of actually holding myself accountable. So I would say that was the main difference.
As we were working together, what were some kind of big personal breakthroughs or milestones that you noticed that really meant something to you?
The biggest one for me, which I still am shocked every morning waking up from sleep thinking about, is that I actually have the biological and natural ability to fall and stay asleep. For so long, I was convinced that I was no longer able to do that. Again, back to the mountain bike crashes, etc. I thought that was just gone in the wind. And the biggest breakthrough was you helping me realize that was not the case. I can fall asleep and I can stay asleep completely on my own. And that was mind blowing.
And you sort of touched on this throughout our conversation, but I guess just to sort of summarize or maybe add some more color, what has changed for you since we worked together in terms of your sleep and how it benefits you during your days?
I perform even better than prior. I've always prided myself in being a top performer, even pushing through the problems that I've had over the years. I always was a top performer, but now it just seems easy. It just seems easier to perform. I'm way more mindful. I don't focus on negative things like the news, the media, things going on in the world. I'm just so happy to be rested and feel healthy that I've really zeroed in on what matters more, and I'm living my life to the fullest. I'm doing bigger rides on the bike. I'm pushing harder at work. All at the same time, I'm just feeling rested and happy and peaceful. And I never really felt this rested, this peaceful, and this mindful. I've always practiced mindfulness, but now that I'm rested and feeling healthy, it's that much easier. I feel like life is great.
Why do you think that the investment in sleep coaching is worthwhile, and why would you recommend it to somebody else?
It doesn't take long for you to recoup costs. If you're one of those people that's out there trying to buy sleep teas and herbal remedies and what may you'll recoup the costs. But really, you can't really put a number on your well-being and your health. And it was worth every dollar.